My guest today is Agnès Bénassy. Agnès is the chief economist of the French Treasury and has substantially contributed to France Relance, France's economic reconstruction plan. Previously, she was a professor of economics at the Paris School of Economics, where she focused on monetary systems, exchange rates, and European integration.
So one new thing that you put in this second lockdown in place have been measures to directly support small businesses, entrepreneurs with direct payments. How is that program working? How does it work, and how do you see it working out?
Okay, so we have the experience of the first lockdown. There was a lot of support to the businesses. The first one was short-time work, like in other countries. Second one was what we called a solidarity fund for small businesses. They can get a lump sum depending on whether they're also those who were closed, but on the top of that, those who are suppliers of those who are closed that are experimenting very sharp drops in their turnover. And so they could ask for lump sum amount. And then we had also tax holidays, tax deferrals, and also tax cuts in some sectors. And on top of that, guaranteed loans, which were a big success. So this first wave was quite a success in the sense that so we are now seeing that corporate defaults are much lower than last year, minus 30% or even minus 50%, depending on the measure. So part of it is due to the lockdown itself and to also special treatment given during this period, but we are not seeing a catching up. And also, we can see that the measures were successful in the recovery. So after the lockdown, the recovery was very fast. Consumption picked up very quickly, and also well, less, but also vigorously GDP. And so just before the second lockdown, the economy was running something like minus 4% compared to normal. So over the year, we are expecting a very sharp drop in GDP, something like minus 10 or even minus 11%.
So liquidity seems not to be a problem. Solvency seems to be a manageable problem. And now the question is really, to some extent, hopefully, the recovery. So the recovery, which is basically getting that V shape that we already saw in the summer and getting the economy to grow, even though it has accumulated this debt overhang. We have some good news from the vaccines. I don't know what's your judgment. I don't know if you have any insights from the economic perspective. It seems like we will see big numbers of vaccinations by Q1, and we seem to be. It's possible that we will recover by the end of Q2 some semblance of normalcy. Is that your sense from what you're reading?
Well, we are listening to various views about the vaccines. Our main scenario is that over the first semester, we will still have restrictions. We don't know which kind of restrictions, but there will still be some restrictions. So the economy will not recover the normal path. And so we see vaccination to really start for the second semester. And this is where the economy can pick up very strongly. So this is our main scenario. Maybe there will be a third wave. You never know. So we don't factor a third wave so far, but still some restrictions, and there are different views about the extent of such restrictions. Mm-hmm. What we know is that the sectors that are directly impacted by this crisis represent something like 9% of GDP. Mm-hmm. So this is a drag on the economy. So you can see a recovery of the other sectors as we've seen in June and July. But these 9% will weigh on the economy for a long time. If you think about international tourism, which although tourism is a lower share than in Spain, it's still quite high. And it also brings together other sectors like transportation, international aviation, or other sectors. So also retail. I think retail is going to suffer very much. Already before the crisis, the textile retail was not doing well, and there may be a structural change. Maybe consumers are less interested in
fast fashion,
fast,
throwing things away.
I don't know, but it was already, and as a general view, so we see an acceleration of pre-existing trends.
Yeah.
Also, for the shops, we've seen that shops that were digitalized fared much better than the other ones during the first lockdown. It's really impressive. The gap between those that were digitalized and those which were not is about 25 percentage points in terms of turnover drop. So it's really this could be an accelerator of digitalization. The government is giving funds to the shops to help them catching up, and we know that this was a weakness of the French economy prior to the crisis. Now shops are understanding that it's a key element of resilience. So the hope is that this will well, we are looking for good outcomes of this crisis. This may be one.
So this is very, it leads me exactly where I wanted to go, which is the recovery plan that the French government put in place, starting with the launch in September for 100 billion, 4% of GDP, and much larger than the ones during the financial crisis. One question, a small question about the plan, then we talk about the bigger design, but very related to what you're talking about, is how do you get small firms to understand that digitalization is an opportunity to make business plans, to take this money and this action? Small and medium enterprises normally don't even think of this as part of their, it's not in their radar. How is the French government trying to get these recovery efforts, of which we will talk in a minute, to these players that you were just mentioning?
Okay, so for the shops, it's pretty evident now. Especially since it's the second time, so the click and collect. So they see the other ones. There's a lot of you see you see the neighbor and doing things you can do also. So there is a lot of this, and in the plan there are funds to help SMEs. Actually, the government is going to advertise a lot about the help they can get. And the first actions seem to be quite successful. There was a call for tender for so it's more towards the public sector, but also towards the SMEs. So there was a first call of tenders for industrial projects, and a huge response. So they responded very much. So it doesn't mean that the projects are good and they're going to be accepted, but there seems to be a taste for investments. So this is good. And the recovery plan, so the strategy of the recovery plan is to have different pockets of money and to reallocate the pockets in case one doesn't work. So this is why the money is not delegated. The budgets are not delegated to the ministers, to the ministries. They are managed from, you would say, the center, although it's collaboration with the local administrations, but not through specialized ministries like housing or energy transition also. So this allows a reallocation of the budget just in case they don't deliver.